This will be a quick series of videos on how to make a scrunchie for the Zambia We So Love ladies. All right, you're going to start out by having a piece of elastic, and depending on your elastic, the length of that may change. On the one I'm doing, I started out with 27 centimeters. You're going to fold it in half. You're going to tie a knot in the end. And after you tie that knot, you're going to give it a really strong pull. And you'll notice that it slides down, down the way a little bit. Okay, so I've got this is going to be for a pretty big scrunchie. You know, you can see it's a little bigger than the one that came from the store. But, you know, it just depends on your elastic and what you're wanting. So that can change. All right. The other thing you're going to need is your fabric. I'm just using white so that you'll be able to see my notes and my stitching. So we did decide in class that somewhere 11 to 12 centimeters in width is good to make one that's got a nice big ruffle when it's done. But it needs to be 50 centimeters long to go all the way around. Okay, so that 11 or 12 centimeters wide and 50 centimeters long. All right, now, and then you're going to need a needle and a thread and probably a scissor. First thing you're going to do after you have made your elastic is you're going to take your fabric and you're going to fold it like this. Oh, I bumped the camera. I apologize. You're just going to go back and forth into a Z, and this is not important that you're doing, you know, an exact size fold. It just needs to fold tidy enough because we're going to tuck that through our elastic. Okay, so now we've got this zigzag folded up fabric inside the elastic, and for the sake of argument, we're going to pretend that this is the right side of the fabric that has all the writing on it. Okay, so that you'll be able to keep your orientation with our video. You're going to take and fold it like this. Don't worry about all this. This will undo itself as needed. And you're going to get your needle, put it, if you're right-handed like I am, you'll just put this mess in your left hand and get these two corners to meet up. This is important. All right, now that they meet up, I'm going to get my needle and thread. And we decided that when you're hand stitching these, it's going to be important to do a back stitch because you're going to want it to lock so that the stitches can't slide around. For the people who buy these, they'll look much nicer. And, you know, we're trying to make these to sell. So that means we want as professional of a look as we can get. So you're going to work your way all the way to the other end. All right. And on the back side, it's going to look like that. I wouldn't take terribly big stitches, again, because that will be visible by the people who buy them. And if you want return customers or good referrals, you want your work to stand out above the rest. All right, so while you're sewing that, I'm just going to show you a little something. We talked about this in class, but in case anybody else decides to watch, the one that came from the marketplace, I'm going to find a spot, I think right here we might be able to see it. They chose to close theirs up, just stitching on the outside. And I'm not going to say you can't get by with that, but if you do this and everybody else does that, they're going to want to pay the least amount of money, so there'll be a price competition between you and the next person, and you won't be really getting as much as you should be for your time. So it takes just as much time to do it badly as it does to do it well. So we're not going to do this. This video series is going to show you a way to do it so that this is a hidden seam and it looks just as pretty as this seam does. And you can see they hand stitched this because you can tell, you know, in some of the places, but it's tiny. So this they did well, but we're going to learn how to do this on this seam. Okay, so how you're going to do that is you're going to keep stitching, and you're going to, and look what happens as you go along. I'm going to, just for the sake of argument, we're going to pretend my stitching is coming along with me as I do this. and that fabric will unfold as you do, as you stitch. You're going to keep going. But what I want you to do, when you get close to the other end, ooh, that's bad. Got to watch out for that kind of thing. I was using a scrap, so that's how that happened. But now you can see if I kept going, I would be at the very end. We do not want to stitch all the way to the end. We're going to leave ourselves a sneaky little place that allows us to get in and make a really pretty closure on those two open ends right here. Okay, because we want a way to hide this seam. All right, so I'm going to mark it on my, so here's where we would end sewing. So what I'm going to do is get this opening, and this really should be a big enough opening. I'll measure it. So I've got 6 centimeters. You know, try 6 and see if that works for you. If you get too much smaller, I feel like it gets confusing, but we'll just try that. So when you get to this spot, you're going to do a back stitch a couple times there, so a little pseudo knot. I don't cut my string, I just jump across the hole, you know, take my needle after I've done a knot here, jump over to here, do a little back stitch twice here, and then sew to the end and get as close to that end as you can, and then, you know, do another knot, back stitch 2 times right here, leave your needle attached, okay? And then we're going to go to the next video, and I'm going to show what do we do once we have stitched all the way around the outside, left the gap, jumped across with our same needle and thread, made a knot, and gone to the end. Tune into the next video and you'll find out.